In the farthest reaches of space, where even light can't escape, something extraordinary was beginning to happen. It was a moment that would shift the very foundation of the universe. A moment known only to a select few in the distant future. Scientists had spent centuries unraveling the cosmic mysteries, but they were about to discover something that no one, not even the brightest minds, could have predicted. For years, humanity had advanced its understanding of the cosmos, mapping stars, tracking the motion of planets, and even sending robotic probes to the outer edges of the solar system. But, as the technology improved, so did the questions. The deeper we delved into space, the more we realized that our universe wasn't just vast. It was alive with forces we could not fully comprehend. What we knew for certain was that at the core of everything, every star, every planet, and every galaxy, was energy. The universe seemed to pulse with it, its foundation built on a network of unseen forces, energy fields that stretched through the very fabric of space-time. But how could we begin to understand this network when we couldn't even understand where these forces came from? In the early 21st century, a team of researchers at the cutting edge of space exploration made an extraordinary breakthrough. They were studying dark matter, that invisible substance that made up a significant portion of the universe's mass. It wasn't something that could be directly observed, but its gravitational effects were undeniable. It was like trying to understand the shape of a tree by looking at the shadows it cast. The evidence was there, but no one could quite explain what it was. As this team delved deeper into their research, something remarkable happened. They discovered an anomaly, an energy signature in the heart of a distant galaxy that couldn't be explained by anything in their models. This was not just dark matter at play. What they found was a force so powerful, it seemed to bend the laws of physics. It was as though something far greater was hiding just beneath the surface of the universe, pulling the strings of the cosmos. The signal was unlike anything anyone had ever seen, and its source was a mystery. The team had first detected it from the Perseus galaxy, a sprawling star-studded mass located over 250 million light-years away. The signal itself was faint, almost undetectable by conventional methods. But when amplified, it sent a ripple through space-time, almost as if the universe itself was responding to the inquiry. At first, it was chalked up as an anomaly, perhaps interference from cosmic radiation or a quirk of the equipment. But the more they studied it, the more they realized that this was something completely new. It was not just a signal, it was a communication, a message of sorts. But the real question was, who or what was sending it? A breakthrough of terrifying proportions. The team was baffled. They weren't just dealing with dark matter anymore. This signal was something different, something far beyond their understanding. They had stumbled upon something far older and more powerful than anything they had ever imagined. It was almost as if they had uncovered a secret that the universe had been hiding for eons. And then, the true nature of the signal became apparent. It wasn't just an isolated burst of energy. It was a map leading to the heart of the universe, to a place where space and time merged in ways they had never conceived. This map, hidden within the fabric of space itself, seemed to lead to a point where the very laws of physics as we knew them began to break down. It wasn't just a place in space, it was a place in time, too. The researchers quickly realized that they had uncovered something they could not ignore. This anomaly wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was a beacon. But a beacon for what? They had no answers, only more questions. What was at the center of the galaxy, where this energy had originated? What did this map show, and how could they use it? The map's coordinates led to a massive black hole at the center of the Perseus galaxy, a structure so immense it dwarfed anything we had ever seen. It was believed to be a supermassive black hole, the kind that housed the mysteries of the universe within it. But this black hole was unlike any other. It was a place where the very fabric of reality was distorted, where time itself stretched and bent in ways that were both unimaginable and dangerous. To make matters even more perplexing, this black hole wasn't just a passive feature in the cosmos. No, this one seemed to be growing, expanding at an accelerated rate. Something was feeding it. Something, or someone, was fueling its growth. The more they investigated, the more they realized that this wasn't just a natural phenomenon. This was a controlled event. The signal wasn't just pointing to a black hole. It was pointing to something inside it, something within the event horizon. A strange, magnetic energy radiated from the black hole itself, creating a sort of energy vortex that pulled everything toward it. The researchers were stunned. This could not be explained by any known physics. It was as if a part of the universe was bending reality to its will. And then, the unimaginable happened. The signal shifted. It grew stronger, and then it suddenly stopped. The black hole, it seemed, had heard their inquiry. The cosmic awakening days after the signal ceased, the unimaginable occurred. The black hole's activity reached an all-time high. The vortex, once a slow-moving swirl of cosmic energy, suddenly began to pulse violently, and with each pulse, the surrounding space began to twist. Time itself seemed to bend and stretch as if the universe were reshaping itself. For a moment, the researchers thought it was the end. Perhaps the black hole was consuming everything in its vicinity. But instead of collapsing, the black hole expanded, its size growing exponentially, distorting light and matter around it. It was as if the black hole was evolving. What the researchers realized with mounting terror was that the black hole was no ordinary supermassive entity. This was no mere hole in space. It was a gateway, a doorway into something far greater, something beyond the understanding of even the most advanced civilizations. The pulsations of the black hole seemed to synchronize with a pattern. It was a coded message, a warning, and perhaps an invitation, and for the first time in history, humanity was faced with the terrifying possibility that we were not alone. Something, or someone, had been waiting for this moment, for the moment when humanity finally listened to the universe's deepest secrets. The researchers, now locked in a frenzy of both awe and fear, were staring at their screens in disbelief. The signal from the black hole, once a mystery, had now become the focus of their lives. The idea of unlocking the deepest secrets of the universe was within their grasp. But there was a growing unease. What was beyond that event horizon, and what kind of entity had been communicating with them? The questions lingered, but there was no turning back now. They had uncovered something monumental, and they knew the universe was beckoning them to explore further. The expanding mystery. As the days passed, the team's research intensified. The black hole at the center of the Perseus galaxy had become more than just a cosmic anomaly. It was a cosmic enigma, offering glimpses of a new terrifying reality. Every time they analyzed the signals, they found something new, something that didn't fit into any of their current models. The black hole wasn't just a passive observer. It was alive. It was changing and adapting, as if it were aware of their presence. But the strangest thing of all was what they found inside the event horizon. The very nature of time and space seemed to warp there. Researchers had once believed that nothing, not even light, could escape a black hole's grasp. But inside this one, the rules of physics were different. The data they received suggested that time itself was not just bending, it was splitting. The anomaly appeared to be a vast network of dimensions within the black hole, a multiverse of infinite realities, each one affected by the core's gravity and energy. It was as if the black hole was a conduit between worlds, a living web that connected the far reaches of the universe, allowing for travel across space-time in ways that no human mind had yet conceived. In the midst of this discovery, one of the researchers, Dr. Helena Torres, an expert in quantum mechanics, made a chilling observation. "This isn't just a black hole," she said, staring at the data with widened eyes. "It's a nexus, a connection point between realities, a gateway." The room went silent. The concept was beyond anything they had been trained to understand. Could there truly be a way to traverse between different dimensions, to travel to alternate universes? Was this gateway their key to the unknown? The gateway to new realities. The black hole's behavior was defying every known law of physics. The event horizon had transformed into a sort of portal, allowing them to observe not only distant parts of our own universe, but also glimpses into entirely different realms of existence. In each dimension, the laws of physics seemed to operate differently. The more the researchers explored, the more they realized that this discovery was only the beginning. One of the most incredible revelations came when they discovered multiple gateways inside the event horizon. It was as if the black hole had grown countless tendrils of cosmic energy, each one leading to a different universe or a parallel version of reality. Some of the universes they glimpsed appeared similar to their own, while others were far more alien, with stars that shone in colors they couldn't comprehend and planets with atmospheres that seemed to defy everything they knew about chemistry and physics. But this raised even more questions. How was it possible for a single black hole to create multiple portals leading to different universes? Was this part of some grand cosmic design, or was the black hole an anomaly that existed for reasons far beyond their understanding? One of the most terrifying aspects of the team's discovery was the realization that the gateways inside the black hole were active, and not in the passive way they had first assumed. The black hole was communicating with them. It wasn't just a passive entity pulling matter into its core. It was sending out signals, patterns of energy, strange waves that seemed to be encrypted. Each wave was different, as if the black hole itself was trying to send them a message. The first contact weeks passed as the team struggled to make sense of the data. As they deciphered the strange energy patterns, something remarkable happened. One evening, as Dr. Torres was reviewing the latest scans, an unexpected signal came through. It was unlike anything they had seen before. A clear, deliberate pattern of pulses, each one more intense than the last. It was a sequence of energy waves growing in frequency. For the first time, the team felt that they were not simply observing a natural phenomenon. They were being contacted. The black hole had initiated communication, and it was asking for a response. At first, they didn't know what to do. Were they truly speaking to an intelligence beyond their comprehension, or was this just a random sequence of energy patterns? Dr. Torres, however, had a theory. What if the black hole isn't just a source of energy? What if it's a living, breathing entity that communicates through energy? And what if it's not just a single black hole? What if there's a network of these sentient black holes across the universe? As absurd as it sounded, the more they analyzed the data, the more it made sense. The pulses they were receiving were too structured, too intentional to be random. They were being sent purposefully, and it was clear now that these signals were not just communication, but an invitation to explore deeper into the unknown. The choice to act. As the signals grew stronger, the researchers found themselves at a crossroads. They were standing at the edge of a discovery so profound that it could change the course of human history. If they could decode the messages, they might unlock the key to interdimensional travel, an entirely new frontier in exploration. The problem, however, was that the black hole was not simply a portal to another part of space. It was a portal to other realities. The consequences of opening such a doorway were unknown, and it was unclear whether humanity was ready for what lay beyond. The team debated furiously. Some believed that the chance to explore these new realms was too valuable to ignore. They imagined the potential benefits: vast new resources, knowledge, and perhaps even answers to age-old questions about the universe. Others, however, were more cautious, fearful of what might happen if the black hole's mysteries were unlocked, unleashing something far beyond their control. In the end, the decision was made. They would proceed with caution, trying to communicate with whatever intelligence lay within the event horizon. They would send back their own response, opening a dialogue and perhaps, just perhaps, unlocking the door to a future where humanity could explore not just the stars, but the very fabric of reality itself. The signal is received. The moment they sent their response, a simple, structured pattern of energy, the black hole responded. The pulse of energy they had sent rippled across the cosmic expanse, and the black hole's response came almost immediately. The team watched as the signal was amplified, as if the black hole had acknowledged their presence. It was as if the universe itself had woken up. For the first time in history, humanity had made contact, not just with the universe, but with the very forces that governed its creation. The discovery of the black hole, as a living, sentient gateway to other realities, had just begun. And what lay beyond it was a mystery far greater than anything the researchers had ever imagined. The researchers were now facing an unprecedented opportunity, an invitation to peer beyond the veil of reality itself. The black hole, which had once been thought of as a mere cosmic phenomenon, was now revealed to be something far more complex, more dynamic, and far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. It was a gateway, not just to distant stars or galaxies, but to entirely different universes, each one with its own laws of physics, its own time, its own existence. As the signals continued to pulse from the black hole, they began to form a coherent pattern. The researchers, led by Dr. Torres, spent sleepless nights analyzing the data, slowly piecing together the message. The more they deciphered, the clearer it became that these signals were far from random. They weren't just energy bursts or static. The black hole was sending information, coherent, structured information, decoding the message. After weeks of painstaking work, they finally succeeded in decoding the message. It was brief but unmistakable. Initiate transfer. These two simple words sent chills down the spine of every researcher in the room. What did it mean? And more importantly, who or what was behind the message? The implications were staggering. The black hole wasn't just a source of energy. It was a portal to something far beyond their understanding, and it was calling to them. The research team had already spent years studying black holes, galaxies, and the fundamental forces of nature. But nothing could have prepared them for the reality they were now facing. They were on the brink of opening a doorway to a new reality, a reality that could hold wonders and dangers beyond anything in human history. Dr. Torres, despite the overwhelming fear that gripped her, knew what had to be done. The choice was clear. Humanity could no longer remain passive observers of the universe. They had been invited to cross into the unknown, and the opportunity to explore this new realm was too great to ignore. With the team's unanimous agreement, they began preparations to send a probe through the black hole's event horizon, hoping to gain more insight into what lay on the other side. The probe's journey. The probe, equipped with the most advanced sensors, communication systems, and quantum energy shields, was launched into the heart of the black hole's event horizon. It was designed to gather data on the singularity itself, but as it approached, the readings became increasingly erratic. The space around the probe seemed to distort. Its sensors began malfunctioning, and its cameras showed only warped images of light and shadow. It was as if the very nature of space-time itself was bending and twisting around the probe. Minutes felt like hours as the team anxiously monitored the probe's journey. They had prepared for this moment, but nothing could have truly prepared them for the strange phenomena they were witnessing. The probe's data transmissions became sporadic, and then, for a brief moment, they stopped entirely. The scientists held their breath, certain that the probe had been destroyed by the immense gravitational forces within the event horizon. But then something extraordinary happened. The probe's transmission was restored, but the feed was not what they expected. Instead of a static image of the black hole, the screen filled with vibrant colors, colors that no human eye had ever seen before. shifting and swirling in mesmerizing patterns. The probe had emerged into something entirely different, something alive, a parallel reality. The probe was transmitting from what appeared to be an alternate reality, a universe with different physical laws where the very fabric of space-time had been altered. The researchers gasped in awe and disbelief as they watched the probe's readings. The laws of gravity and motion were completely different. In this new reality, time didn't flow in a linear fashion. The probe reported seeing galaxies moving in strange, non-linear patterns, with no apparent center of gravity. Stars existed and collided in ways that defied current understanding, and planets orbited in chaotic, erratic paths. But it wasn't just the physical structure of this new universe that amazed the team. The probe began to detect signs of life, but not life as they knew it. There were no familiar planets or moons, but instead, massive energy fields that seemed to pulse with intelligence. These energy entities didn't conform to any biological patterns. They existed as pure energy, flowing and shifting through space, communicating in waves of light and color. And then, the transmission from the probe stopped again. This time, the team waited with bated breath, not knowing if they would receive any more data. For what seemed like hours, there was nothing. The black hole had claimed the probe, or so they thought. The revelation of the caretakers. Days later, something entirely unexpected occurred. The signal from the black hole resumed, but this time it was not just a simple transmission. It was a message, an invitation, this time in a clear, structured language. This wasn't just another random burst of energy. It was a communication, and it was directed at humanity. The message came through as a series of harmonic frequencies, encoded into a pattern that the team could finally understand. It read, "You are not alone. The gateways are open. Enter and understand the true nature of the cosmos. We are the caretakers." The words hit them like a wave of cold shock. Caretakers, what did it mean? And who, or what, were these beings that controlled these gateways between realities? Dr. Torres and her team felt both awe and terror. The caretakers had opened the door, and they had been invited to step through. But was this a gift or a trap? What lay beyond the gateway? Could humanity survive in this strange new reality? Or were they stepping into something far darker than they could ever imagine? The team had reached the point of no return. The black hole had shown them a doorway to a new realm, one that held the potential for unimaginable discoveries, but also the risk of unfathomable danger. The time to explore, to understand, and to confront the unknown had arrived. The researchers faced the hardest decision of their lives. Should they send another probe through? Or should they prepare humanity for what might lie beyond the black hole? The choice to send a second probe into the black hole was met with a mix of eagerness and fear. Dr. Torres and her team had come so far, uncovering secrets that could change the very fabric of human understanding. But the message they had received and the unexplored realm it promised was unlike anything they had ever imagined. The black hole, it seemed, wasn't just a gateway to other parts of space. It was a doorway to something far greater, far more profound. As the team deliberated on their next move, something odd began to happen. The signals coming from the black hole grew more frequent and more intense. It was almost as if the entity within was urging them to act, beckoning them closer with a sense of urgency. The frequencies coming from the black hole were not chaotic anymore. They had become rhythmic, like a heartbeat, steady, insistent. The caretakers, whoever they were, had made it clear. This was not a call they could ignore. The team decided to take the next logical step, a human-crewed mission. This was no longer just about sending robotic probes through the event horizon. Humanity had to be the next to step through, to understand what lay beyond. As risky as it was, they had no other choice. The discovery of the caretakers and the potential to unravel the deepest mysteries of the cosmos was simply too great to ignore. The spacecraft, the gateway to new realms. They began the design of a new spacecraft, one that would be capable of withstanding the immense forces of the black hole's gravity and radiation. The fusion-powered propulsion system, which had been in the early stages of development, would now play a critical role. The fusion engines, capable of sustained acceleration and continuous travel, would be the perfect fit for a journey that would take them through uncharted space and time. But the spacecraft was not only a technological marvel, it was a symbol of humanity's resilience, its determination to explore and push the boundaries of what was known. The team called it the ether, named after the ancient Greek concept of the pure air that the gods breathed. The ether was built to embody the idea that humanity could transcend the limits of the earth, reaching into the unknown with the ambition and courage to face whatever lay ahead. The ether would carry 5 astronauts, the best and brightest minds in space exploration, into the heart of the black hole. Each of them had spent years training for this mission, learning everything they could about fusion propulsion, black hole dynamics, and the mysteries of dark matter and energy. They were prepared for the scientific challenges, but nothing could prepare them for what they would encounter on the other side. The final preparations. As the final preparations were made, the excitement in the control room was palpable. The team worked around the clock, making sure that every system on the ether was fine-tuned and ready for the journey. This mission, they knew, would either be humanity's greatest triumph or its greatest tragedy. The uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed over them, but it was overshadowed by the thrilling possibilities. They had discovered something that no one had ever even dreamed of. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but now they were about to peel back the veil and peer into the unknown. As the countdown began, Dr. Torres stood in the control room, staring at the screen. The image of the black hole filled the display, its dark swirling mass, a void of unimaginable size and power. The ether was ready, and soon they would cross the threshold. She could feel the weight of the moment, the magnitude of what was about to unfold. This was no ordinary space mission. This was humanity stepping into the vast, uncharted cosmos to find something beyond the stars, something that would forever change the course of human history. The countdown hit 0. The ether's engines roared to life, powered by fusion reactions that propelled the spacecraft forward at an unprecedented speed. The team watched as the spacecraft moved toward the black hole, the event horizon growing larger and larger on the screen. The ship was moving into the void, into a new reality. As the ether neared the black hole, the laws of physics began to distort. Time slowed, light bent, and space warped around them. They had crossed into a domain where even their best scientific models couldn't predict what would happen next. The journey through the event horizon. The ether crossed the event horizon. It was a surreal moment, one that no one could fully comprehend, until they were in the midst of it. The spacecraft's systems began to report strange anomalies. The data streams were fluctuating wildly, and the artificial gravity inside the ship began to behave erratically. The crew braced themselves for what was to come, knowing that they had crossed into uncharted territory. For a moment, there was nothing but darkness. The black hole swallowed them whole, and the universe they knew seemed to collapse into nothingness. The crew felt a strange sensation, as if they were suspended in time, floating between dimensions. It was as if they had crossed the boundaries of space and entered a place where time itself was meaningless. Then the anomaly in space began to settle. The crew could see it, a vast alien landscape unfolding before them. It wasn't a black void as they had expected, but a swirling mass of colors and shapes, an energy field that seemed to stretch beyond the horizon, a cosmic sea, unlike anything they had ever imagined. There were stars, yes, but they weren't like the stars they knew. They pulsated with energy, their light flickering in ways that defied natural laws. Some were shaped like massive, spiraling nebulae, while others looked like strange, glowing orbs that seemed to pulse with life. The ether's instruments couldn't make sense of what they were seeing. The data was incomprehensible. The crew was witnessing something entirely beyond their understanding. It was as though the universe itself had unfolded into a new form of existence, one where the very nature of reality was fluid and mutable. The revelation of the caretakers. As they ventured further into this strange realm, the crew began to detect intelligent signals. These weren't just random energy pulses. They were deliberate, patterned signals, like a form of communication. The caretakers, the entities they had heard about, had been waiting, and now they had made contact. At first, the communication was subtle, a shift in the energy fields around them. But then, the signals grew stronger. The ether's communication systems began to sync with the energy patterns, interpreting the signals as a language. And what the team discovered was nothing short of astounding. The caretakers weren't just passive observers. They were guides, keepers of the gateways between dimensions. They had been monitoring the fabric of space-time for eons, ensuring that these cosmic doorways remained intact. And now, humanity had crossed the threshold. The caretakers had been waiting for someone to open the door, to step into the unknown and discover what lay beyond. The invitation. Then the message came, clear and unmistakable. Welcome, travelers. You have crossed the boundary. The doors are now open to you. What will you find beyond? Only your journey can reveal it. The crew stood in stunned silence. They had made contact with an intelligence beyond their wildest dreams, an entity that had been waiting for this moment. The journey had only just begun, but already they knew that everything about their understanding of the universe would change.